Hello everybody, the Lord Root here, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. And so I've been out of action for a couple of weeks. I've been practicing my, some of my, my encounters with other planets furiously. And there's something about that, Duna is easy enough to get to. In fact, it's probably one of the easiest planets to get to in my humble opinion, but I ran into a bit of an issue trying to, end up in an orbit, or even being captured by some of, the harder planets. We've got plenty on our radar here. I'm just gonna go ahead and load our probe real quick. We got plenty on our radar, but the problem is that while we do have lots of windows available, there are other planets that are fairly difficult to get a hold of. We'll just close Protractor here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a transfer window node, and we want to go to Dres, and then we want to go to Moho. Maybe. I haven't quite decided on that yet. We'll see how everything goes. But that is going to be our main, thing to do here. So we'll go ahead, we'll add ourselves an alarm. Hopefully this will do its thing. And I'm hoping we can get to Dres pretty early on. But that'll be our first target. Now Dres is a little bit difficult to get to because of the inclination change. And we'll just go ahead, we'll launch now. Probably should have had that thing powered up already. Doesn't really matter too much, but basically the idea is we have ourselves this probe that it actually has a fair amount of delta V. If we look at the staging, I think it has several thousand meters per second of delta V, and I need to cut my throttle just a little bit. It's been so long since I played that actually we'll leave it there for now. Might be better to be a bit aggressive. We don't want to create space debris. But there's a lot that can go on when you're trying to get, aligned properly. You can very slightly miscalculate the ejection angle that you need, and that turns out to be a bit of a problem if you're if you're trying to get this thing properly aligned with the planets or whatever. And then the maneuver node system doesn't really work as anticipated. So that can be a bit of an issue as well. We'll just throttle down just a little bit. We don't want to run out of fuel before we... Actually, it may be okay. This thing has a ton of delta V in it, and we'll use this largely to get ourselves up into orbit, we'll discard it, and then circularization, hopefully, is not going to be too big of an issue. I believe we're moving fast enough that, while we are probably being a little bit inefficient, we're probably going to be okay. So, at any rate, I downloaded Protractor to help me out with this a little bit, because, while I could actually do the math and calculate when the actual, the actual window will be, then, yeah, I could do that, but, I don't really, I can't be bothered at this point. We'll go ahead, we'll do our gravity turn. And watch our specific impulse rise. And you can see by looking at our delta V, it's actually going up quite a bit. Time to apoapsis is raising ever so slightly. So we might lose a little bit of velocity here, but I'm actually a little bit surprised that we haven't lost all that much. So anyway, this thing is going to largely be, dead weight by the end of it. That's not really surprising. But whatever we do, we don't want to get this thing down too far. We want this thing to remain in a, I guess, the situation where it will decay very easily. And we are very slowly getting on up there. So, yeah, why don't we go ahead and, get this thing down a little bit. This is a fairly, this is going to be a fairly, flat, thing going on here, but, shouldn't be too bad. In fact, let me push my periapsis up. I think we have enough, vertical velocity now. We want to get that horizontal velocity going. And once we're out of the atmosphere, we'll just circularize and we will try to get ourselves an encounter going. Now I predict that we're going to have to burn somewhere along the dark side of the moon. I'm going to shoot for a target apoapsis of about 80 kilometers per second or so. I think that will be good. We just don't want to reach apoapsis too terribly soon. And we are still in the soupiest part of the atmosphere. And we'll get ourselves up to, I don't know, 90 or so. And we will let drag run its course. If we need to, we'll pull that up just a little bit. In fact, yeah, we will want to be pulling that up quite a great deal. That had gone down a little bit more than I'd anticipated. I don't know what's going on with my camera here. It's doing some weird things. But hey, if we get this up to 95, I'm hoping it'll get us out of the atmosphere soon enough. We are losing velocity quite rapidly. I'm just going to put it on the physical time warp. And I think maybe it's time for us to bring this up just a little bit more. Maybe like, there we go. I'm hoping we will be out of the atmosphere pretty soon, as this is a rather slow launch. But we are in about the thinnest part. So we will wait for this thing to get up. In fact, I think we did okay on this. We actually won't have much in the way of fuel to burn in order to circularize. And this ejection process will get in the way slightly. It'll impart us some momentum. But it's all okay, because I think we have enough fuel. So let's go ahead and get our circular. Is that us? No. No, that's the Duna Dragon, I think, which happens to be right over our apoapsis. We'll just let this thing come on up so it can get out of the way. And circularization, I think, should not take too long. But yeah, if you look at this, we have over 7,000, meters per second at delta V. I'm not really going to get too focused on making this perfect because it's a temporary orbit, but one thing we do want to do, of course, is well, what is our specific, what's our thrust to weight ratio? That will probably take several seconds. It probably wouldn't hurt me to use this thingy over here, but that indeed was not 1 second, so we do want to be careful of that. It's the one thing about these that burn estimator, sometimes it underestimates the burn by quite a bit. We should be circular here in a bit. And we may, in fact, want to change our inclination. I think that's good. Our inclination relative to the planet is actually quite high. But we're gonna have to deal with that. I mean, hopefully, that won't be a huge deal. And so, we have, Dres here at this very high altitude, and we want to intersect it. Now, there's going to be a bit of a problem here because, we want to, well, first of all, I can't really see what I'm doing. I have to zoom out so I can get an intersection with this planet. And for reference, this thing is, several. Well, there starts the trouble. We have to sort of pick a place. And we definitely don't want to burn there. Let's try at least here. See how close in we get. We might be able to get that intercept. I'm hoping, at least. Now we got this deal going on to where, well, first of all, our Apple Apps is quite, quite out there. And we do want to intercept. So this is a bit of an aggressive burn here. Now, the question is, how easy would it be for us to lower our, to lower this without expending too much fuel, because that could be a bit of an issue. I mean, we may have to make a second orbit around here. And there used to be a thing that would show you where the moon was, but I think that's only, whenever you reach your encounter. I'm not entirely sure. The one thing about this is that, we've definitely got this thing, lined up to where we're close by. That's not going to be an issue. The issue is going to be, were we far enough out? And I think maybe one more orbit will be in order here. Let me just check and see when our window is. I might just put a we have 29 minutes to Dres. I'm going to give us something at 15. Now, if I were smart, I would have probably actually launched around 35 minutes or so. But it's a little bit too late for that now. So we're gonna pass our maneuver node very easily. And hopefully we can update that. That is something that does kind of bother me about the way the maneuver node system works, is that See, now that we're locked in here, we can't move that. And it's a real shame, because what happens if you miss, you know? We'll just quick save so that it's easy for us to get out. Now we want, I think that's our ejection angle we want. It says we need to burn in some 25 minutes or so. And I am, inclined to trust that. So that's very good. Of course, we're going to have a little bit more delta V than we want. But I wonder if we set this here to 0, we shouldn't be doing it radial like that. If we're doing this radial and I set up a correction burn, and then what happens here? I mean, we'll want to get this thing, you know, going. It's a little bit more delta V though than I had initially anticipated. So right now we're at some 5 meters per second. Let's first of all see what we can do to lower that periapsis. Not to lower that periapsis, but to get us aligned. Because alignment will help us. And I think if we put about, we're not at as good of an angle here, but I think the idea will be that oh, come on, where are my markers? This is part of what makes getting to these outer planets a bit of a pain, because it's very difficult to find yourself to where you can get aligned. And I can't really tell where the planet's going to be at this point. All I know is that I'm not really in a very good position to hit the planet right now. And so maybe what I can do is I can give us some radial. Of course, if I give us radial, that could be a problem. That seems to, oh no, there we go. We're at least, you know, we're at least in this situation to where, this burn is a bit more aggressive than anything else, but if we're careful, then we can, and there's this other thing too that I forgot to mention. There's, what makes this such a pain It's the fact that um, those encounter nodes move. So it's very difficult to be able to make a judgment as to, the best way in. Well, that is 12 days from now. Now will very likely end up in a very weird situation here to where we just might miss our burn. And that would be unfortunate for us. Although maybe I'm just approaching this the wrong way. I think I'm focusing too much on getting my inclination correct. And I should be bringing down my you know what? Let's go back and see if we can get this thing properly set up. If we can get this thing into the sweet spot, which I reckon we are probably going to do very well. Let's see, we're at negative 0.5 here. And just where exactly is this thing? Let's see, we are 45 miles out. This guy is, or not miles, but I guess megameters. We'll get this guy aligned real quickly. And get ourselves some amount of we'll get ourselves some amount of alignment going on here. It's really bizarre because I'm not, even though I should be crossing into this orbit, I'm not really getting close enough, it appears. I mean, that should give me an idea. Oh, wait. Now, there is actually something to think about. That I like. And maybe we won't run into this bug here where there's I think maybe if I bring down prograde that might help. There we go. So what's the distance so far? It's 22 kilometers. I bet you what I'll do when I get out here, I'll just maybe burn towards the thing. There's really no other way I can think of to approach that, because I have a burn I'm going to be thinking of soon. That's going to be a 9-minute burn, and I might as well just make that so that I don't miss it. But it's this is, needless to say, one of the more difficult things to set up, because you think you got it right, and Of course, you don't. You've, looks like I've got all of these minor burns to make, and I can't really tell if this thing is getting further away or no, don't do that. 3. Let's get rid of the normal here. And let's see what we got. If we increase or decrease prograde, that seems to bring it down just a bit. So that may be in order. Let's just go down here. That will be too much. And let's see which direction we need to go. If we can expend as little, fuel as possible, getting this thing close by, then that'll work for me. So we want to, we want to bring this thing down. Well, first of all, we'll get this guy down to 0. That will move us closer in, I hope. What did we have there? See, it's continually lying to me, and I don't really like that. Oh well, we'll at least set that as our current chance for a correction burn. And I think I'm going to skip the Moho mission. It's inclined by like 7 degrees. And that's not really what I want to do. There's just really no, there's no reason for me to, to worry too much about that. Because Duna is going to be a whole lot easier. And so we got, 12 days? Except, oh no, we're good. Let's just put this on. Well, first of all, it might help. I'm sure we're running out of battery power right now. Why don't we extend the solar panels? No. Why don't we do this? That way, we got electric charge coming in, because if we don't do this, we will be dead by the time we get out to space. Although I think we did have, these electric generators on here. And let's go to time warp. Now when we get out here to day 10, and that's going to be the important part, when we get out there, and hopefully everything has gone according to plan, then we will do our fine tuning there. And it's time for us to do slight adjustments here. And go back into physical time warp. So yeah, needless to say, this is a very difficult burn. And you'll find that whenever we do the Duna burn, that will be much better. Yeah, we're drifting very, very slightly off our maneuver node. No, I did manage to get this the first time I tried it, in testing. And then I found out that my craft is way too difficult to steer because I didn't, or it was rather. That's because I didn't have enough in the way of, I suppose, the oh, what do you call it? I didn't have any reaction wheels on it, which that's the real kicker right there. You'll notice we still actually have quite a bit of delta V. This little ship is pretty strong. We could in fact take this thing all the way to Joule, but I don't really want to have to worry about that. Joule is going to have to wait. Because right now we are just getting our delta V down. Now when is our next when do we have to fire this thing? Because that could be an issue for us. We don't really want to fire our Duna mission. Whoa, or no, I'm fine. We'll just keep it right there. Even though, you know what, we might as well just readjust from there. Okay, so here I am trying to get a Dres encounter, and one thing that you'll probably notice from watching this is that my encounter uh, detection thingy, my encounter indicator just keeps on moving back and forth. That makes it incredibly annoying. There's really no way to, I guess, accurately predict where my window should be. And that turned out to be a bit of a problem. It made it real tedious, so I decided to cut this part out of the video. Or maybe not cut it out, but speed it up. I mean, part of it was cut out. And after setting up my timer for the dragon, I decided, I was going to go ahead and try to get this burn going at some point. Although here, I believe I was probably messing around after I got my after I got my inclination done correctly, and there was this issue to where I was just going to try to point straight towards the target. That didn't really work so well because I couldn't get my encounter close enough. I'd have a lot of, really, really close things happening. Really near misses, but that just didn't work. So I reloaded my quick save and tried to set this up again. And I think, I must have probably gotten a worse result out of it because I can't really see that it worked all that well. I mean, it's just the inclination of this is very difficult, even at just 5 degrees. So, I more or less decided I wasn't going to do the Moho mission. And before too long, I just decided to cut off the video and come back when I had an encounter. And so we should see that fairly. I am back. I did some playing around. We're gonna have to do some rather tricky stuff here. But I think we can get a, yeah, there we go. And we just want to lower that periapsis just a little bit. So that's going to be in almost 2 years. That's not really what I had hoped for, but um, considering the circumstances, it's probably the best we're going to get. The main deal now is that we want to make sure that we get down to substantially less than several million kilometers. That would be very helpful for me. We're at 2208. If we do an inclination change, does that change things dramatically? Yes, it does. That is actually quite good, I'd say. And maybe we'll go 0.1 here. We'll bring this guy down as far as it will go. Let's see. Where are we on this? In general, it would be nice to, it would be nice to see, okay, we're a little bit too far there. 311. That is much, much better. If we can get this, I mean, we're halfway there. We just want to add in a small trim maneuver. I mean, I'm not going to complain too much if we don't get there immediately. We're going to have to find a place where we can align at this time. But I think we're okay. We've passed the threshold we want to, which means we'll go down to this here. 344 versus 348. We may not be able to fine tune this as much as I would like. However, 249, 187, 125. Let's see if we can. Hey, that is fantastic. Excellent. Well, that is pretty much that's what we're going to commit to, and then I guess after we're done, we should. Well, first of all, I'm going to save this. There's no way I'm not going to save it. That's a 29-second burn, so I think despite all that, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes on that. I might forget about it. And, we'll start chugging along. Just wait for the days. Actually, I'm going to, do this real quick. Because, it makes sense for us to. And we'll jump very quickly to that ship. But that makes me wonder, I bet you I did not put an antenna on here. Can I transmit this data? Let's try this. Too far from object. Oh, I've already gotten that. I don't think I bothered to put an antenna on here, which means we're screwed if I can't recover this thing. Oh well. I mean, we still should have 1400 meters per second of delta V, which means if I can get this thing in a phasing orbit of some kind, if I was able to do, well, no, let's not do that. We'll handle that later. We've got bigger fish to fry right now. Because we have to get this thing on to Duna, the Duna Dragon. And that is, going to be a pain. So it's needless to say, I'm not repeating that with Moho. Duna is fine because we're actually fairly well aligned for Duna. Just jump to ship. And this time, we want to go ahead and, there we go. We got 20 minutes to worry about. Where does that put us? That puts us about here. Which means we're actually pretty close to the transfer point. And we're actually fairly well aligned. Let's get this thing out and going. And let's select Duna as our target. Now this will be a fairly brisk burn. See, look at that. That's almost instant right there. That's how easy it is to get to Duna. We could rotate just a little bit, I'm sure, but in fact, that's even better. If we go normal, will we bring this in any? And of course we got this thing going on here. Because we can't decide whether or not we're close enough. I wonder what they did to break the maneuver node code. Because, I mean, this is fairly, what was that at earlier? That's 95 something, 9563. We are pretty close. And are we moving apart or... Yeah, we are moving apart. It's a shame we can't really see the abscess here. But we burn prograde. I mean, we might need a bit of an adjustment burn out here. Unfortunately, because it is possible to get ourselves set. You know, pretty easily. Let's bring ourselves down to 10. I think 10 was where we were at earlier. And what happened here? Yeah, I know I'm being kind of finicky with this. But you would be too if it happened to you. Because now the maneuver node system is being a veritable pain. And it can't really decide what it wants to do here. We had 10 for our normal. And 70. That's surely a good sign there. Because I think, we're getting pretty... Oh, yeah, there, we had a periapsis. Or a Duna encounter, rather. Now, at some point, we do want to rotate just a little bit. How much? Well, enough to get us down. And that part may take some thinking on my end. We may not have that much time, however. So I'm going to... What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. I'm going to give us like... I don't know, 10 minutes to get properly oriented, at least. And we'll quick save this, just in case. Because, the more... You know, the more I think about it, the more I may be screwing this up. Because we've got 4609, that's better. I mean, surely though, when we get up to this point, we could potentially... Okay, what's going on here? Why is it... You know what, I'm just going to wait until we get out into space before we, decide to do anything. Because my plan for this is that we're going to actually aero brake, which is going to be nice. Yeah. Let's. One thing I do want to do, of course, is I want to. I want to make sure that we don't have fuel crossfeed here. And did I transmit this data already? Because if not, I should. And it's not worth much, but it's gotta be worth something. And I'll always get carbon atmosphere data. From wherever we need to. But we do want this stuff to be, available. And speaking of which, we want to make sure that our electric charge doesn't run down too much. However, I think that'll be okay. The other thing we want to make sure of is if we go down here, if we tell it to control from here, because that seems to be at least, this camera. But we do want to deactivate. I wonder, is there a way to deactivate those manually? Because I am... There we go. Shut down engine. We don't want this thing, ripping us, or providing this counterforce on us, pushing against us. Because that could cause problems. And the other thing I found out on my test mission is that we want this engine. This engine is going to bring us good tidings. That is no good. I apparently forgot. Oh, wait. Well, yeah, I know why it didn't get filled. Come to think of it. That did not get filled because, I didn't really bother to fill it. Now, where are we on our mission here? We are currently... We want to be pointing prograde, and that's going to be coming up from the bottom. So I recommend that we, get this thing moving on down. We have to be very careful. This guy's really, really wobbly. And we'll use a lot of our reaction control fuel. Oh, dude, you know what? I'm pointing the wrong way. That is going to be a problem. I don't want to be going that way. I want to go this way. I think. I believe if we're controlling from here... That doesn't make much sense though. It's not the prograde marker. But I see what's going on here. What's going on is that we haven't gotten to our point in the burn yet. And I think we want to go at a leisurely pace at this point because, well, it's rather nice to be able to do that. We'll be able to more finely control our speed. Plus, this rocket may snap if we're not careful. So I'm just kind of curious. This is... Okay, this is, probably going to take about 4 or so minutes. And or less. Okay, so we want to burn it like 110. Even at that small amount of, fuel usage. I was a little bit surprised about that, actually. So... we're gonna go to 130 here. That's just gonna be a minimal burn. It actually is rather surprising because we use so much Delta V getting out to Dres. You can see it can't even really decide. Although this is going quite a great deal slower than I want it to. We'll just... That probably means we're running at about, I don't know, 10%. I bet you bring this thing up. Yeah. We're gonna be off very slightly, unfortunately. Well, maybe not, actually. I mean, I think we actually did okay on this. I wasn't going to ramp this thing up all the way, but... you know how it is. This guy up here, we can get him fueled up. So, we really, at some point, will be... Oh, I'm not going to turn on the physical time warp because this thing will snap. It will surely snap in half, but, we're doing okay so far. At least I think. I mean, this is going to be, quite an issue for us. Though, like, if we're off because... Well, I mean, okay, it's not going to be that bad. We've got plenty of monopropellant for sure here, and we can just transfer everything away. But yeah, I mean we're gonna end up in this situation probably to where whenever we're dying, this thing's going to run out of fuel pretty soon, I think. Unfortunately, there's no real way. Um, we can deorbit this thing at least. That's the good thing. I was kind of hoping to keep it around for like station resources, but that's probably not going to do. We're gonna have to get another encounter at some point and send it our way, because it will be significantly easier to slow this thing down once we get it out of the way. I mean, on this module alone, we have tons of Delta V. It doesn't look it, but this module up here by itself has about 7 or so kilometers per second of Delta V. So, that'll make us a little bit more sprightly. We'll just have to be careful around here, I think. Try not to run out too much. And I think it's time to start cranking down the throttle. Let's give ourselves some RCS so we don't change our inclination too much. Oh, I believe we have overdone it. Let's see, do we have an encounter? Damn. We don't. We've gone over the limit a bit. Which I think now means that we have the unfortunate problem of trying to trim this. I guess while I'm doing that, let's see exactly what we still have some spare fuel here. I'm not sure if I want to bother carrying that or not. We'll use that for maybe insertion. But man, there's got to be oh wait. Yeah, we have our Duna encounter. It's just so unstable that it can't really decide. Let's at least get out of the atmosphere real quick, because or not out of the atmosphere, but out of Kerbin's sphere of influence. I mean, we're doing way better on our maneuver node, I think. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. we'll go ahead and save now. Except, okay, yeah, now it's still trying to decide, which I believe means we've got it. But that is several days in, and I'm not entirely sure what the best approach should be here, other than for us to set this as our target and maybe burn very, very slightly towards it. Maybe that'll get us down to a reasonable thing. But yeah, as you can see, it's a lot easier when you're I mean, aside from, this thing wigging out as much as it has, we still have plenty of minor propellant, which, to be quite honest, surprises me. We have more than a third of our tank. So we do have the correct thing going on. As to why we're wobbling so much is beyond me, but we want to get this thing as close as possible without completely killing our intercept. And I think that may be the best way to do it. I don't know. We might be hitting Ike if we're not careful. But that'll remain to be seen. And maybe, well, I don't know if I'm going to put this thing in physical time warp mode. I'm afraid of it falling apart if I do. Okay, I think we've done the best we can there. So, that's where we're going to remain for now. I think before I shut off the video, I will do some general housekeeping, I think. We'll move, this stuff out, and we'll use any fuel here. We may use that for braking or whatever, but other than that, we'll try and get this thing ready for I guess for entering the atmosphere. because that's what we're going to want to do. And at this point, I mean, we've got a very small amount of fuel left. We just want to make sure that whatever it is that we do with that fuel, that we use it wisely. And that will probably involve, I don't know, getting ourselves, close enough to where we can rotate into the planet. Because that's going to be the way we're going to get into the atmosphere. And, once we do that, then we'll be landing on the planet, hopefully. I know that the central stage here should have enough Delta V. It's just a question of whether or not, we otherwise have, enough in the way of fuel. Or not in the way of fuel, but if we can aero brake efficiently. And that's going to be the main issue right there. So we'll bring this thing out of the atmosphere, and I'm planning to go to Ike if we have enough fuel to do it. I mean, I'm thinking we should, but there's no telling with that. We may, in fact, lack the required fuel for Ike. But I am putting that space station in orbit of, yeah, it's 47.2, ain't it? Yeah, it's a little bit unbalanced, but it'll be fine. But we'll leave ourselves here for now. So this has been Dilord Roots, and I will see you later.